Away from the war in the Middle East now, let's head to India, where the Financial Crimes Agency has arrested a top opposition leader hours after he resigned from the position of Chief Minister, Jharkhand State. Well, after 7 hours of questioning on Wednesday, the Enforcement Directorate arrested Hemant Soren on allegations of corruption. Mr. Soren denied these allegations and challenged his arrest in India's Supreme Court, calling it politically motivated. Meanwhile, his party, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, has named Transport Minister Champai Soren as the next Chief Minister of the eastern state. Mr. Soren's suit will be heard on Friday. Over in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where at least 8 people have died in an armed raid on Achia, which is a town in North Kivu province. Families of the victims visited a morgue in the town where bodies had been wrapped in plastic bags for burial. According to authorities, the attack was perpetrated by the Allied Democratic Forces group, an armed militia with alleged ties to Islamic State. The incident occurred when the ADF gunmen reportedly stormed a village named Baeti in the Beni territory. Several attacks attributed to the ADF have been reported across the Beni area over the past week, and the DRC's armed forces say they have launched an operation against the militia in the western region of the country. With nearly 8 million people displaced by the brutal conflict in Sudan, UN High Chief Commissioner of Refugees Filippo Grandi is now calling for urgent and additional support to meet their needs. Concluding a 3-day visit to Ethiopia this week, Mr. Grandi observed firsthand the efforts of the Ethiopian government, supported by the UNHCR and its partners, just to assist Sudanese refugees who have recently arrived in the country. The UN refugee chief also traveled to Asosa in the Benishangul Gumuz region, meeting some of the over 20,000 refugees and asylum seekers who are currently hosted by the Kurmuk Transit Center. Since April last year, over 100,000 people have crossed into Ethiopia from Sudan, including close to 47,000 refugees and asylum seekers. And this is coming in addition to some 50,000 Sudanese refugees already in the country.
This is Kurmuk, the border between Sudan and Ethiopia. Through this border, 20,000 Sudanese refugees have crossed into Ethiopia to seek safety from the war in their country. They are part of almost 50,000 who have come to Ethiopia since April 2023, when the hostilities erupted in Sudan. Africans never shy away and are true to their reputation of being hospitable people, of being generous to the distressed. This is an appeal, this is naturally an appeal also to the international community. All these countries, including Ethiopia, are not rich countries, are not countries with a lot of resources. They need international help, they need burden sharing. And unfortunately, the Sudanese refugee crisis, displacement crisis, humanitarian crisis is one of the least funded in the world today. There are many other crises around the world. Some are acute, some make the headlines. We should not forget that for the people that I have just spoken to, that have fled from war in Sudan, their headline is their suffering day in and day out, and they need help.
In the meantime, the United States Treasury has imposed sanctions on 3 Sudanese companies they believe are funding the war in the country. According to the statement from the U.S. Treasury Department, those sanctioned include Al-Khalij Bank and Al-Fakir Advanced Works, controlled by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. The third company, Kadna International, is linked to the Sudanese army. The statement says that all 3 entities have undermined the peace, security and stability of Sudan by either laundering money for raising funds or from gold exports. The sanctions are part of measures aimed at stemming the 9-month war which has killed over 12,000 people. On Tuesday, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the commander of the Sudanese army, called for a full-scale offensive against the RSF, adding that he is not interested in talks as they are a waste of time. Both the army and the RSF have been accused of by the US government and other civil rights groups of committing war crimes, but both parties have denied these accusations. Let's head to Kenya now, where the President William Ruto says the country's mission to Haiti to help the gang violence will go ahead, despite a court ruling that it is illegal. Mr. Ruto says the mission could go ahead as soon as next week if all the paperwork is done to satisfy the demands of the court. However, the Kenyan opposition leader has accused Mr. Ruto of planning to defy the court ruling against the deployment of police to Haiti. Ekuru Akot, who last week successfully challenged the planned deployment in court, says the president can only deploy the army and not the police. Last November, the Kenyan parliament ratified the deployment of 1,000 officers to lead the multinational force in Haiti, where gangs are attempting to expand their territorial control. But last week, a judge said that Kenya's National Security Council, which is led by the president, does not have the authority to deploy regular police outside the country. And in just a moment after the break, Kenyan artist Spencer Aberi creates dazzling suit with broken mirrors. Bring you the details. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu has asked citizens to call for an early election, accusing his successor, Hakainde Hichilema, popularly known as HH2, of failing to run the economy. Mr. Lungu also accused President Hichilema of failing to manage the cholera outbreak, which has claimed the lives of nearly 600 people since last October. Speaking on an opposition media briefing, Mr. Lungu said that Zambia should put pressure on the president to accept that an early election was imperative. However, there was a swift response from the government, dismissing Mr. Lungu's allegations, asking Zambians to give the president enough time to deliver his campaign promises. The former leader was accused of ruining the country's economy during his 6 years in office. Mr. Lungu announced a comeback to politics just last October, prompting the government to withdraw his retirement benefits. Let's come back here in Nigeria, where the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has said that women in health sector have the capacity to address the Japa syndrome confronting the country. And confronting the sector, Professor Ali Pate made this comment during the inaugural launch of the Women in Healthcare Network in Lagos. The minister says the medical practitioners who have relocated to acquire more knowledge have the opportunity to return home and bring back incredible value that will improve healthcare services in the country.
Women across diverse healthcare fields converge on Harbour Point in Lagos Island for the official launch of Women in Healthcare Network, a platform to connect with medical professionals with one collective goal: to build a better health sector.
With every shy girl out there,
The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, amongst others, are here to support community of women in the medical space. The brain behind WIHCN initiative is Dr. Mudupe Elebute Odunsi, who specializes in internal medicine, hematology. She says the group is ready to build a formidable workforce that will reshape the industry.
The most important thing, the one I'm most passionate about, is that we're going to run mentoring programs to really help the younger generation understand that there's a lot that we can do in healthcare here in Nigeria. And we need to do it. We need to do it to excellent standards.
The minister and the NITCAM chairman believe the women's medical role cannot be ignored and promise that government will collaborate with the network to deliver quality services.
When we talk about the human resources and the JAPA, I will dare say that the women in healthcare are an important piece of the puzzle in addressing that. Because if you look at the drivers of it, you might find that, in fact, the attachment, the convening, there's a lot that you can be able to do. And as we train more, hopefully we'll return more. And for those who have gone, bring them back like Dr. Modupe has now come back.
For the Diaspora Commission, we're hoping that we can resuscitate what we call the Diaspora Professional Healthcare Initiative, where all our doctors, medical practitioners can come together and decide, on making an impact collectively. So we look forward to working with you. We call on everyone to support you, and I know that with this network, you will change a lot of narratives in the healthcare industry in Nigeria.
The likes of Dr. Stella Adadevoh, who sacrificed her life to curb the spread of Ebola in Nigeria, cannot be forgotten, and the federal government calls for more recognition for women.
In 2014, the indomitable Dr. Ameyo Stella Adadevoh took a courageous stand that ultimately cost her life to prevent the insidious spread of Ebola. We were also witnesses to the remarkable dedication of Dr. Amarachukwu Allison, who identified Nigeria's first case of COVID-19. This testament underscores the non-negotiable role women play in safeguarding the health and well-being of our nation, reminding us that their resilience and courage are indispensable pillars in the fortification of our collective health security systems.
With the launch of Women in Healthcare Network, the federal and state government believe the initiative will go a step further to elevate the standard of healthcare in Nigeria.
And finally, on the program, Spencer Alberry, an artist from Kenya, is using pieces of broken mirrors and glass to create unique pieces of art, one being a reflective suit that has left locals in awe. Let's bring you the details of this.
Spencer Alberry collects broken mirrors from dump sites like this one around his neighborhood in Nairobi, Kenya. Then, the real work begins for the artist.
I make art out of mirrors. Due to lack of finances to buy the mirrors, I had to go to the various dump sites to collect mirrors. And then after collecting those mirrors, I wash them. Then I clean them, I dry them, and then I stick them to the suit. So due to that long process of collecting and making the suit, I was able to come up with a fully customized mirror costume.
One of his most fascinating works is this dazzling suit. Some other of his creations include bags, shoes, and even gloves made from glass. Berry started using broken mirrors and glass in his work because of lack of money to buy materials, but now he hopes to create awareness about the importance of conserving the environment by making art from garbage.
Small pieces of mirrors or glasses are harmful to the environment as well as to people in general. I thought it better to collect those pieces of mirrors to create something beautiful and also to keep the environment clean. That means that any litter or any garbage or even any plastic can be used to create something beautiful.
He believes that initiatives that find unusual ways to work with discarded materials can be essential in dealing with all kinds of waste, especially in relation to one of Kenya's biggest problems, plastic waste. According to a study shared by the United Nations Environment Programme in 2020, 92% of the waste in Kenya is mismanaged, and there were no collection services registered in rural areas of the country.
Oh, it looks really beautiful. That's the art of creativity. That's it on The World Today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawaju.